Hi. Remember a time when things were so simple? When good overthrew evil, the guy got the girl, and the kids hadn't sucked the life right out of your soul? When you were a child, wanting nothing more than to snuggle in front of the TV with your parents or siblings and watch a Disney movie. Remember watching with awe the fantastical magic playing out on the screen in front of you? Are you there yet? Is it all coming back? But you had to grow up, didn't you? There was no magic fairy dust for you, and as the years passed, you grew bitter. Why couldn't you go and live in Never Never Land? Where was your Prince Charming ready to whisk you away to a castle? Where is your fairy tale princess who would be your everything? Adulthood sucks. We all want to go back there. Back to a time where elephants could fly and sleeping princesses would wake from their slumber once a prince kissed them. It was a magical time, a time full of wonder. It was all lies! Yes, what you just heard was the record scratching and the pretty music stop. Sorry about that. Disney lied to us, and it's not just Disney. It goes back further than that. But it is Disney who popularised these stories and put them in our home for us to enjoy as children and for our children to enjoy them just as much. The older you get, the more cynical you become. And this is born out of never getting to kiss the princess, seeing every day that good doesn't triumph evil, and most importantly, realising that no matter how much glitter you throw up into the air to land on your head, you won't fly. Go on, give it a go if you think I'm lying. Go and climb that tower block all glittered up and step out singing, "We can fly, we can fly." See what happens. I look forward to seeing your sparkly, bloody mess spattered across the pavement on the 10 o'clock news. No, Peter, all it takes isn't faith and trust and a little fairy dust. It's lies. All lies. Let us journey together to a magical land where animals can talk and prepubescent princesses can understand what they're twittering on about. Or are mentally ill. Hey, while we're at it, cooking and cleaning for our stepmother and two horrible stepsisters, let's make the entire rodent infestation little tops and hats to wear so that they might do our bidding behind the scenes. Yes, your dad died of the incurable cartoon cough of death. It's very sad. I'm sure he was lovely. We never really got to know him, so didn't form the same emotional attachment you obviously had with him, Cindy. But you're 19 years old, love. Your wicked stepmother and stepsisters aren't Joseph Fritzl. They didn't lock you down a cellar all your life. On the contrary, you've got pretty sweet digs. Sure, your room might be a little drafty, but I still reckon you'd make a killing listening on Airbnb. Throw in the birds that get you dressed in the morning, and you'd be onto a winner. Or leave. Fuck off. Pack a bag, or have the birds do it for you, lazy, and walk down the road and get a job. You have experience in the cleaning industry. Make something happen for you, instead of waiting and sulking and crying, "Oh, my sisters are so horrible to me," like a petulant little child because they're being nasty. You're 19 for fuck's... Actually, you're 19 years old. You're the oldest of all the Disney princesses. You should have done something for yourself by now. Get a life and stop talking to vermin. That kind of personality trait will not get you far. Oh, unless one night, while you're crying again because your life's so awful, some pissed up fairy happens upon you and sends you off to a ball where you write cock tease and leave just before the man of your dreams gets your name. Thank God for your deformed little feet, otherwise the story of Cinderella would have been called The Night the Cleaner Nearly Got Laid. From Disney princesses who weren't held captive to one who was, Belle. Oh, Belle. The bookworm whom the entire town thought was a little bit weird because she read. Obviously a grossly illiterate town. That is, apart from Gaston, the town celebrity who sees the 17-year-old and fancies himself some. Belle doesn't like Gaston though. She likes books and her senile father. Her dad gets lost in the woods one night, even though he was on a road when he set off to town. He gets lost and winds up at a spooky gargoyle castle and then goes in like a complete nutter. He should be there, of course, but a giant bear-wolf man-mutant. And talking inanimate objects, because nothing is inanimate in Disney pictures. Everything is very much animated. After Dad's horse fucks off and leaves him, it manages to find its way back through the woods to Belle. She then, sharing her dad's nutter gene, asks the horse, who doesn't talk but understands fully what she's asking, to take her to her dad. Let me stop there. What sort of psychopath is the horse? It's just witnessed his master getting captured, has made his way back to safety, and then decided to take the only other person who can feed him into the jaws of danger too. Belle finds her dad, has a bit of a chat with Beowulf Man Mutant, and offers herself up in exchange for her dad's freedom. Very noble, cartoon princess, but come on, what sort of scared 17-year-old from a tiny French town would muster up enough courage to do this? She's not street. She hasn't got mad people skills. If you ask me, I reckon she's on the spectrum. Not proper, but enough not to realise what she's doing by not thinking things through properly. So Dad leaves, because that's what dads would do. His only daughter, his little princess, mum dead, he's old, there's no chance of him making any more. He just ups and leaves. A deal's a deal after all. No, Dad, you go. I'll stay with Bear Wolf Man Mutant. You need to leave. Yeah, alright. See you later. And Belle becomes the Beast Prisoner, who he lets have run of the whole castle, apart from the West Wing, because he's wrecked it a bit and there's a magic flower. Call me cynical, but it doesn't feel like she's a prisoner. There are no iron bars or food rations. She gets meals prepared for her because she's our guest. Yeah, shut up, Candlestick. This is all very fantastical and Disney-esque, but this is where shit gets darker. If you scratch below the surface, we watch as this clueless young lady develops Stockholm Syndrome, which is a psychological response where hostages or victims form a bond with their captors or abusers. Forget the fact that she has long chats with a teapot. Ignore her having girl talks with the wardrobe. And what you have left is a very damaged girl who falls in love with a werewolf man mutant. She even calls him Beast. I mean, say what you see, love. Why don't you find out his name? Imagine being named after your physical appearance and the way you conduct yourself. I, for one, do not take to the name pot-bellied, smirky, sarcastic wanker Radcliffe. Or Rob for short. And I'm sure Werewolf Man Mutant doesn't either. So she falls in love with him. And it's all very well Belle getting jiggy with Beast once he's shed his fur. Beams of light flying out of his fingers and toes, obviously. But are you seriously telling me she didn't mess with him before his 60-minute makeover? All those long nights in a chilly castle with only a candlestick, clock and fucking teapot as company. Knowing just a few doors down there's an angry comfort blanket she could spend the night with. No, not even when he gave her a library. That was a smooth move. I bet Belle was coughing up fur balls for weeks. In researching for this post, and by research I mean watching Disney movies, I found there was quite a sinister pattern emerging. All these chicks, all these Disney princesses, they're all teenagers. Some of age or ripe. No, I didn't mean ripe, I meant legal. But other Disney princesses were pretty young. Let's go back, way back to the beginning. Snow White. Now, I'm not even going to look at this from the obvious seven horny little men angle. It's too easy, and it's been done to death in porn. A friend told me. No. Snow White was 14 years old. The fairest of the land, was lost in the woods, and was taken in by 7 kindly circus performers. I mean minors. She ate the apple, fell into a coma. We all know the story. Then Prince Florin came along, kissed her, woke up from a coma, and they all lived happily ever after. It's very Disney, it's very family friendly, it's lovely. Except Prince Florin was between 27 and 31 years old. This makes him 29 if my maths serves me. What the fuck was a 29-year-old pedo prince doing snogging 14-year-olds? Probably wondering if she had a younger sister. No, come on, Disney. What are you thinking here? First, this unfortunate girl has a hit taken out on her by her stepmom. Then she winds up with 7 weird little men that live together. Then she ends up in a coma. And who should ride in to save the day? A guy who should probably be on some sort of list so the authorities could keep an eye on him. There's no happy ending here. Snow White is still a minor and ends up being groomed by the prince. And that's what you're telling our children. Cheers, Walt. Abduction, grooming, sulky adults who make clothing for rodents. There really is no hope. That said though, there's no Disney story more sinister than our next tale. This is the tale of an old toy maker who fashions himself a wooden puppet, but wants a real boy. Sick of getting splinters in his knob, probably. Don't ask me why I didn't go down the adoption route. It doesn't go into detail. And this isn't about Geppetto, this is about the possessed doll. So Pinocchio, the lying little shit, learns nothing in this tale of humility and doing the right thing. Only that if he lies and runs away, he'll wind up with all the other little shits, smoking cigars, drinking ale, which will inevitably lead to him turning into a donkey and then later on getting eaten by a whale. I mean, what on earth is that even supposed to mean? What is it supposed to teach our kids? Also, Jiminy Cricket. Sorry I murdered all those people, Judge. The insect had a day off and I was left to my own devices. It makes no sense whatsoever. And then, after ignoring his conscience all the way through the film, smoking and drinking and lying a hell of a lot more than any real kid wouldn't or otherwise, Pinocchio is turned into a real boy anyway, and him and Geppetto rejoice. You never see the next day. There's no real sequel to this film. That's because the boy who started off life as Tree was spirited away by social services the next day. Geppetto was on the watch. Of course, he was on the watch list, where Prince Florin should have been. Really, when a guy goes to the extreme lengths that he did to fashion himself a son, people are watching. And don't even get me started on Peter Pan. A horny immortal kid abducts the 13-year-old posh totty and brings her brothers along for the ride, for kicks, to watch. All the while, his jealous flying pet sparkle rat tries desperately to kill the object of Peter's sordid desires. It's no wonder Hook behaved how he did. Look at this from his point of view. A sulky flying little shit keeps abducting civvies and bringing them to the Magic Island you share. Wouldn't you want rid? Disney really does have a way of sugarcoating the realities of these bedtime stories. Take Little Mermaid, for instance. Now, I was as thrilled as anyone when Ariel received her legs so she can walk on land because she was all horny for Eric. The fact that he was only 2 years older than the 16-year-old Ariel means Disney has been closing the age gaps between love interests. Another thumbs up. But legs or no legs, Ariel is still a sea creature. Now, I'm quite partial to a bit of sea bass myself. I'd never turn down a tuna steak. But even still, like the Beast, Ariel is a mutant. Even more so, she was born fish. There was no disgruntled fairy who turned her into a mermaid. Don't get me wrong, of all the fish species and sea-dwelling creatures there is out there, the mermaid is the most agreeable on the eyes. But even so, Ariel is effectively a tarted up cod. What if Eric's a vegetarian? I'm just not sure how the relationship would ever work out. Sure, the sea mutant gets her legs at the end of the movie, but even so, how long would she take in the bathroom? Once those taps were turned on, she'd be a quivering wreck, blubbering about how much she missed home. Now, you may notice I've stuck to the cartoons starring humans, but let's think outside the box for a moment. Bambi. That mute little venison steak on legs. Now, at the beginning of Bambi, his mum dies. I know, it was all very sad. I still have nightmares too. No, she didn't die of the contagious cartoon cough of death this time. She was shot by a hunter. The bastard hunter! Has he no soul? Why would he do such a thing? Poor Bambi's now an orphan. Well, I'll tell you why he murdered Bambi's mum. Because he's a hunter. And just beyond the woods is where he lives in his little log cabin, while his wife and children wait expectantly, stomachs empty, hoping that Daddy returns with some food today. Daddy did return with some food. They had Bambi steak that night, and the following night they had Bambi stew. His wife fashioned a nice Bambi mum blanket to keep the chill of the night away, and they all fell asleep, happily digesting an orphan deer's parent. Had Bambi not hidden, I dare say they would have been enjoying more of that particular family the next day and the day after. The hunter is not the baddie in this story. If anything, he's the hero. He saves his family from starving. Why does everyone care so much about a fucking baby deer? I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I should still allow my children to watch these movies. I mean, a little child abduction, pedophilia, beastiality, mental illness, and a venison steak can't be that bad for our children to witness. Right, Walt? I have been the Reluctant Writer, and you've been watching episode 3 in my Rant series. If you like it, please like it, subscribe, do all those other things that you can do at the bottom, and tell a friend. Until next time.